If you're an ambitious founder, I guarantee there's a war in your mind right now. A war between your ambitious goals and your brain's primitive, desperate need to keep you safe. Every day you want to work hard, but you hit a ceiling when your brain activates ancient survival circuits. It's not laziness, it's not a lack of motivation, it's not a lack of discipline. It's that your brain is actively sabotaging your execution and you don't even realize it. And most founders accept this as just how it is. They try to push through it with more caffeine, more productivity hack, and sheer force of will. The problem is that the harder you fight against these circuits, the stronger they become. Elite founders do something differently. You cannot win the war against your brain, but you can most certainly rewire it so it helps you achieve your goals. This is not motivational BS. This is not theory. This is a neuroscience-backed protocol that I guarantee will help you rewire your mind for consistent execution. How would I know? Well, because I built it for the past 7 years and I've trained more than 330 founders at this point in exactly the same process. And it's going to work for you no matter the goals you're going after. If you don't do this, success is going to be much harder to achieve. Everything is going to feel like a slog and you'll find yourself trying to push yourself to do the work. Instead, apply this and see how much easier everything becomes. The first step is to awaken to a true power. See, while most founders chase surface level tactics to feel well and actually do the things like positive thinking, growth mindset, or whatever, elite founders understand that the true power lies in something deeper. It lies in your attention, specifically in training your ability to differentiate between your thoughts. Elite founders understand that how you use your attention shapes your brain. This is a practice called metacognition, right? Right now, your mind is running on autopilot. As I am speaking, you have a zillion different thoughts going through your head. Those thoughts and the emotions associated with them and the behavioral impulses that come from them are there without your permission. Metacognition is the skill that helps you hit pause and conscientiously look at your own thinking. And instead of being dragged into your thoughts, those emotions, and those behaviors, you just see them for what they are: automatic thoughts that don't need to be paid attention to. This is a crucial skill because when you train yourself to not pay attention to the things your mind automatically throws at you, you start becoming good at discriminating between those thoughts that are useful and those that are just bullshit. And most founders can do this because they've never trained themselves into it. But elite founders automatically select the most useful thoughts that they need to pay attention at each moment so they avoid self-sabotaging, procrastinating, or getting distracted. Imagine you make a mistake and your mind tells you you're not good enough, you're not ready for this, you're absolutely a terrible marketer. That is an automatic thought that is absolutely useless, so you don't pay attention to it. And instead, it sends you the thought, get data in order to become better and try again. That is a useful thought. Pay attention to that thought. Over time, you will start fine-tuning your attention to only pay attention to the thoughts and the emotions that actually help you move forward. The better you become at thinking the right thing, the better things end up happening to you. But it all hinges on mastering your attention, not in thinking positively, not in manifesting, not in doing kumbaya. No, it's in taking control of your attention through a process called metacognition. The better you become at taking a step back on your thoughts and leaning into the right thoughts, the easier it becomes to rewire your mind because you choose which neural pathways in the brain need to be strengthened and which need to be weakened. And this is supported by Michael Madrid's research on neuroplasticity and attention, which demonstrated that focused attention creates lasting changes. When you get good at metacognition, you start seeing patterns in your mental operating system. You see the automatic stress responses that kill your decision making. You see the self-limiting beliefs that hurt your execution. And most importantly, you notice the gap between what happens to you and how you react to it. And that is where you make the most mental upgrades. This is very profound. You most likely never heard this before, but this is the key to elite performance and results in business. It's learning how to not pay attention to the things that don't need to pay attention to and triple down on the things that actually matter. Each time you catch yourself in an unproductive thought pattern, you have a chance to rewrite that neural pathway. The more you practice this, the stronger your metacognitive abilities become. And elite founders learn to catch these patterns before they hijack their behavior. They have developed something called response flexibility, the ability to pause, assess, and choose the optimal response at each step of the way. This is how you break free from your brain's natural survival response and how you can get closer to higher and higher states of performance. Once you understand this, of how to take control of thoughts and emotions, you're ready for step number 2, which is deciding what you want. See, if we don't know where we're going, we'll never get there. We must create a worthwhile destination for our efforts. Elite founders understand that the brain has 2 distinct goal-setting circuits. One is the external reward circuit, which is seeking status, validation, surface-level success. But there's a deeper, more powerful intrinsic motivation circuit, which gets activated when you pursue something that is meaningful to you. Right now, your brain is wired for survival, not for success. So you're moving away from pain. In order to really maximize your potential and rewire your mind for execution, you must create a destination that serves as a pulling mechanism. Something so meaningful, so powerful that reprograms your mind to seek it like oxygen, that makes you wake up every day absolutely convinced that it is your true calling. Once you do this, you activate the intrinsic circuits and your brain naturally gravitates towards feeding you proof that you are on the right path. The more emotion you bring to this, the more you feel this happening to you, the more real it eventually become. This may take a little bit of time because most of the desires that we typically want in our life are mediated by someone else. We never truly think about what we want. We have wants, impulses, and cravings that are typically not coming from within. So take a step back and really ask yourself, what would you do if money was no object, if you had all the time in the world, if your survival was absolutely guaranteed? If you pause enough and you think clearly, a lot of patterns will emerge and a clear goal will probably come to you. The goal is to have that purpose, that thing that is bigger than your personal gain, that directs your behavior and helps you think more clearly and be more motivated. Whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, it has to come from within. It has to be self-transcendent. It has to come from the inside. You already know me. My purpose is to create a peak performance institute for entrepreneurs because I believe that entrepreneurs really make the world a better place. But most of you guys are not ready yet to win in business because your mind is not yet trained for execution. So the best thing that I can do with my time is build Selfmastered into a high performance training center. So it is very important for you to realize that if you are operating on the basis of a self-transcendent purpose, things become exponentially easier. So step 2, self-transcendent purpose. And step 3, create a new identity around your new purpose. See, this is very important because we do not rise to the level of our goals, we rise to the level of our behavior. In other words, if we do not elevate our standards and create a very clear definition of who do we need to become in order to get to that goal, we'll never get there. So the next step is to recreate your identity and build new thoughts, new beliefs, and new behaviors that actually align with that destination. Your identity is, in essence, the sum of your deeply seated beliefs about who you are and your capabilities. And the more you work at the deepest level, the easier it eventually becomes because you will never outperform your identity. If you see yourself as a lazy entrepreneur, you will never work as hard as you need to. If you say you want to build a 9-figure company, but deep down you see yourself as a small business owner, you will not do what's required to build a 9-figure company. Identity is the motor that takes you to the destination because your actions will always match who you are. So instead of setting bigger goals just by the sake of them, rebuild your identity to the level that you can confidently execute on it. Start behaving like the person that already has achieved what you want to achieve. Once you have very clear intention, you're ready for Number 4, embed that intention into your subconscious. Remember, if we do not train our subconscious, which processes up to 95% of our daily decisions and behaviors, we'll never achieve that. So we have to embed that identity into the subconscious. And anyone can dream big dreams and have big plans, but only a few can actually evolve into the kind of person that actually achieve those goals. And the way to do this is by signaling your subconscious that that new identity and that new goal is actually important. Because the brain doesn't really care whether something is real or is imagined. It cares that it's actually meaningful. And you assign meaning through it by consistently repeating it so that it becomes second nature. One of the best tools for this is visualization, which is the act of mentally rehearsing you doing something or an end goal that you want to go towards. When you get good at visualizing something and making it real and vivid and emotional, your nervous system, your brain ends up assuming it has already happened. The more you go into the habit of visualizing, the easier it eventually becomes for your subconscious to accept that you are going after a massive vision, that you have a new identity, that you have new beliefs and thought patterns and new behaviors that are conscientiously building the next chapter for your life. So this is very important, right? Anyone can make big dreams, but only a few ever achieve them. And typically are those that do the necessary work to actually get it. Then step 5 is to execute on the intention, right? Once you know exactly what it is that you are willing to build, who you need to become, what beliefs do you need to espouse, you're visualizing exactly what needs to happen, you need to start doing it. You need to do the work. You need to consistently execute on it. You need to find the fastest way, the highest leverage task to get where you want to go, and consistently train yourself to do the work faster. Your brain will rewire itself one step at a time, but the faster you can move and try new things, the easier everything will happen. If you're really ambitious and you're chasing things outside of your comfort zone, realize that you're gonna have emotional triggers from past experiences. You're gonna have fear responses to uncertainty. You're gonna have imposter syndrome. You're gonna doubt your decisions. You're going to make mistakes. Every time you hit resistance, realize that elite founders hit resistance just the same, and they are able to continuously get the shit done. So every time you feel doubt, fear, hesitation, lean into it, execute fast, visualize exactly what needs to happen, do it, learn from it, and make yourself proud. Then the next step is really where elite founders differentiate themselves, because those founders are consistently focused on not failing, and they care too much about an outcome that they end up always sabotaging. Elite founders separate themselves from the rest by not caring about the outcome, by being intensely committed to what they need to do, but being detached from the specific outcome, being confident about the ability to figure things out, but humble enough to learn if they're not getting it, being focused on what needs to happen, but be open to unexpected opportunity. The fastest way to be unsuccessful is to obsess about how fast things should happen or how they should happen. If you want to be successful, just commit on putting in as much inputs as you can until the outputs take care of themselves. This is a crucial thing to master. The better you detach, the better results you will get. And the final step is to achieve your goal. See, the process is very simple. You have to take control over your mind, conscientiously choose the best thoughts, emotions, and behavior at each step of the way, execute relentlessly, detach from the outcome, and open yourself to synchronicities that eventually will give you what you want. It is a very simple process, but most people will never do it successfully because it requires radical self-awareness, daily execution, and the unshakable belief in your ability to figure things out. That is the secret. Nothing else. It's just about being absolutely confident that no matter what happens to you, you will come out on top because you have rewired your mind to take action every single day. I also remember 4 years ago when I decided that I wanted to move to Miami. And back then, the obstacles were overwhelming. The US borders were closed. due to the pandemic. My time was split in 3 ventures. I had all sorts of things I had to arrange. There was no clear path to a visa. Everybody said it couldn't be done. I have never met anyone who had done it in the past, but I just used this protocol. I used metacognition to catch my doubting thoughts. I aligned my identity with someone who had invested in the US to get a visa. I consistently visualized my life in Miami, and I took consistent action for years until I was finally granted the opportunity to invest and immigrate, right? This is how you achieve every single goal, not by working extremely hard or grinding it out, but by carefully rewiring your mind to make the right choices at each step of the way so that you have no other choice but to win at whatever game you choose to play.